Hey everyone, welcome back. So if you just saw the last tutorial here, we were looking at the massing of the building, and now what we're going to do is we're going to look at how to get some structural grids and things like that into our building. So real quick, let's jump into Revit here. If you watched the last video, you should have something like this, hopefully. And if you don't, go back and watch that other video. Let's make sure I got my mass floor on here. Mass floor. Wow, let's make sure we do the roof in the basement. Ta-da, all in here. Good to go. Basement. So one thing you might notice is that in terms of our floor plans here, we've got basement and grade and site. But what we need to do is we need to create some additional plan views, some additional plan views for our overall project. The way that we're going to do that, we're going to jump up to the View tab. So View tab, and over here underneath Create, we can actually come down here, Create Floor Plans. So I should stop here for 1 second. You'll see the drop down, Create Floor Plans. So let's make sure that we hit that floor plan tool and not the reflected floor plan. We could do that later if we need them, but for right now, I want to make sure we select the floor plan tool, and we'll go ahead and do that. You'll get another menu that pops up, says which floor plans you want to create. If you hold Shift, you can click that and select all of these. You can also just highlight them all. Is do not duplicate existing views. We'll leave that on for now. There might be a time when you want more than one view for the same plan. That's okay. We won't get there just yet, but for us, I want to generate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 views all simultaneously. Hit that OK button. If you look at your project browser, I should say, now we've got basement, grade, level 1 through level 5, all the way up. Now, if you didn't see all of those, you may need to generate these level markers. So make sure you've done that before you go ahead and generate those plan views. As a reminder, those elevations, those levels live inside of our architecture tab, all the way on the right where it says level. Good to go. Cool. So if I jump to grade here, I'm going to double click on grade. My computer doesn't crash. What's going on? Where is grade? Oh, I'm in the grade view. Aha. So I can't really do this inside of Revit, but essentially in class, what I kind of demonstrated was if you open up our section B for program requirements, there's a whole host of column sizes, column grids that you're free to use. So I'm not advocating for any particular one of these. I think it's important to have the grid structure that works for you. So, any of these are suitable. We've got this 1200 by 1200 planning module. If you see this in here, whoops, zoom in here, 1200 by 1200 planning module or a 1500 by 1500 planning module. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but for me, coming from industry, you're basically saying, do you want to fit your grid within something that fits a factor of 1200 or 1500? And these are pretty common factors. For us, I would advocate for 1500, but you could totally welcome to do whatever you want. There is no punishment for using something outside of what I'm demonstrating today. So whatever works for you, whatever you want to use, all good. One thing I did say during class time was that really what's going to govern a lot of these structural bay sizes are our parking grids. So our parking is happening below grade, and what you'll see is that some of these will fit more parking spots and so on and so forth. So the example I've got a couple examples from our precedent projects that are available on Blackboard. And if I jump up to, this person is Garofalo, I've just got 2 examples here. And they've chosen a grid that's 8400 by 7200. Totally reasonable, totally fine. 8400 by 7200. And you can see how that kind of gets laid out across the site. They've done a wonderful job representing the property line here. One thing that's missing from their grids are the grid bubbles. I would advocate that we make sure we show those. And then we've got a core, this kind of central core here with a whole bunch of stuff inside of it. The storage, elevators. I should mention that the core in the basement is slightly different than the core at the main floor, but that is all good. What I wanted to do for us right now is to just get some plan grids onto our drawings. So for me, I'm going to choose to do 9 meters by 7,500. You are welcome to do whichever version you want. You can choose any of those grid dimensions from our friends in the program B6. So where do we want to start? first things first, let's get some grids in here. So I'm going to use grade as my starting point here. So I'm going to grab this grid function in the architecture tab. So architecture tab, you see grid all the way over here. And I'm probably going to try and start my grid in the top left corner. You can start it wherever you want. Ideally, we have A1, A2, A3, so on and so forth, our Cartesian grid coordinate system. So I am going to start, we can either do A through, H, whatever we end up with on the top, or 1 through 8, whatever we end up with on the top. I would argue there's not really, I've seen it done both ways. How about that? I've seen it done both ways. So for us, let's see what our other friend did here. So RTN did. So again, no grid bubbles. Let's make sure we get those grid bubbles on there. Super helpful when describing locations in plan. So this is the other example. Again, no grid bubbles. I would love to see grid bubbles in your drawings. So let's jump in here. Let's just start. So grids, blam, blam, blam. Now, I think actually this is I've done this previously. This is why. So make sure if it doesn't say A, you can start with A here. And I've already forgotten, are we doing 9 across or are we doing 9 down? We are doing 9 down. So let's do 7.5 across here. So grab that A and copy or CO. You can see we've now got this copy highlighted. 7,500. See, it jumps to B. And now what can happen is make sure you're at 90 degrees to our previous grid. I should say make sure we're parallel. 7,500. Blam, blam, blam. All the way across. It's up to you if you want to use I. Some people choose not to use I. This is up to you. I, of course, and 1 can look fairly similar on the page. So we just have to be mindful of that. I'm going to go ahead and type CS. I'm going to click on my grid and type literally the letter CS, or Charlie Sierra, I think. Charlie Sierra, CS. And now what we could do is create some new grids. So I'm going to come the other way. So you can see now it's going from K to L. Revit's so smart. I'm going to change that to 1 real quick. And now I'm going to draw my grid at 9 meters. And let's go ahead, keep drawing this. So we've got a small problem here. We could see that that 9 meters can't continue, but for now, I'm going to make sure that we get our 8th grid there all the way at the bottom, make sure we're on the property line. Now in Revit, for whatever reason, you can't do this all simultaneously, but I'm just going to go ahead and turn on all of my grid bubbles. I feel like this is helpful as we kind of move through the process, at least in one plan, just to see all our grid bubbles. Ideally, they're consistent across the drawings, but you can see here there's no real fast way to do this. I wish I could just select them all and turn them all on, but unfortunately we can't because Revit's stupid sometimes. AutoCAD might be, or Autodesk might be listening, so let's not say that too loudly. Coming all the way across, turning all of these on. And one thing really important to check is as we have done this, I'd like to make sure that our dimensions for our grids are accurate. So you can either type DI for dimension, or we can come up here to annotate, go to aligned, and let's just double check that all of our grids are showing up at that 7,500 dimension. Come down here on the left, see what we got, 99999 all the way down, and then 2250 I think for the last one. Correct. Okay, cool. So one thing that you might notice is that 2250 is probably not really going to work for us. So what do I mean by that? That 2250, there's two things that are going to happen. One is that we probably need to move this up so that our parking is more appropriately sized. And you guys will figure this out as your parking is evolved. You can see here, we've got roughly 8.5 here. I'm going to call mine 9 for the drive aisle, right? And then we've got 7.5 here for our parking stalls. If I jump to this one, what do we got here? Aha. Okay. We've actually got the reverse here. So that's okay. So however you choose to do it, I might actually modify my grid to be this way instead, but that's okay. So we've already got the grid all set up here. So 7,500, what did I say? I might want to flip this. So in that case, if I want to flip it, what's the fastest way to do it? I I could do it this way. I could click on one of these grids, and I'm going to change this to 9,000. I'm going to flip our grid on us. So 9,000. Now if I click this one, and I could continue doing this all the way across, but it might be faster just to do this. And we'll do our same exercise. So apologies about that. I'm just going to flip our grid. I think this is better. Oh, accept. Of course, got the wrong numbers in here. Bum, 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 bum. Nine, 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 all the way across. Probably need one more. Copy that across. Drag this out. Cool. So, and now on my vertical side here, I'm actually just going to go ahead, apologies for this, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this and start from scratch. So I'm going to make this 7,500. 7,500. Make sure you change it to 2 here. And I'll copy this. Down. Move is MV for anybody who really likes to use shortcuts. Move is MV. 75, 75, 75. Make sure we dimension in here. Something like that. And now if I jump back to my assignment 2 here, roughly 7,500 by 9,000 is a nice little grid, probably pretty helpful for us to kind of see. Remember, these references are available to you, but you are free to use whatever program requirements you want to use, 7,500 by 9,000 or 7,200 by 7,200, whatever you think makes the most sense for your project. So one thing here is I do notice that I am going to need to probably split the difference here. So you can see 7,500. I'd like to move this column line inside of, in here, in this case, this is our setback from our property line. So our setback from our property line, I believe, was 6,000 here, 2,500. Over here, we've got 6,500. Oh, maybe it was 6,500. I'm going to double check that real quick. Where's our setbacks? Oh, it was in our... Here we go. It's only 6. So my mistake, this should be 6,000. Okay. Good to go. So something like this. So 9,000 by 7,500. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to shift this. How much do I want to move this by? Why don't we give ourselves a little dimension? So I'm going to say this is 2250. Probably need another 500 on there. So another 500 in terms of the space that I need for my enclosure at a minimum. So I probably want to shift that whole thing up by... If I do 500 inside that property line there, or excuse me, inside that setback line, should give us 2750, right? So 2750. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift all of my grids up by 2750. So I'm going to move north by 2750, and that should have updated everything. Looks pretty good. Okay, cool. One other thing that I'm noticing is I probably want to make sure that my setback, even though it's 2,500 here, if I look at Garofalo's and as well as Artienda's drawings here, we can see there's a line here where our ramp is towards the kind of west of, I think it's Steeles and Kipling, I believe. And it's up to you. Again, you're welcome to choose where you think having the parking ramp makes the most sense. Both of these examples are at the west end of the site. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this in. So let's move this to our property line. Use the align tool here. And then I'm going to move it out by 500. Something like this. So now we've got 8,500 for our ramp. It's probably close to enough. Something like this. Remember, we don't have to finalize the design right now, but we're getting some ideas about, from a schematic perspective, what are we up to? So if I jump to a section here, let's see what we got. right? So this is looking pretty good. I'm gonna come down here. Now remember, we probably want to move this back. This is our, in 3D, that was, oh, maybe I didn't move it. Oh, it's the wrong side. So I gotta make sure I move the right section. Section 2. Aha! So where is my mass? So this is an example where my massing has turned off. So if I jump into my Victor Golf or my Victor Victor, so if you type on your keyboard VV, Victor Victor, and we'll jump down to mass here under model categories and turn that on, and now my mass comes back. It's gonna go ahead and shift this in a little bit, and then I'm actually just gonna pop this out by 500. Finish the mass, and excuse me. And now if I jump to my 3D view, you can see I've just cut it back a little bit. What is this? This is my floor. Oh, lines. Let's see. Finish mass. Getting closer and closer to, I think, what we want. So if I jump in here, this is now my grids, I think, are all set up. Let's just check here. So level 1. Okay, looking good. Now, again, I feel like the masses are turned off here. If you want an idea of where the outside of our building mass is, if we turn that on, you could see here, it's now on. We might want to move this line out by 500 or so. Let's just do that real quick. So our massing line, finish mass, something like that. Really what's happening is the rules of the city, so our zoning law is really starting to inform the shape of our building. Try your best not to have any sort of, I call them intersections, but interferences between the annotations and the grids. Could get a little dubious just in terms of our drawing exercise. Okay, cool. So it's really where I wanted to get you for strictly grids, and I'll stop the video now, and hopefully that's helpful for you guys. What I'll do in the next video is jump into how to get some columns up and running on our overall drawing sets here. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, guys.